best experienced with headphones. The night lay heavy upon the marshes, a silence that was not silence at all, but a breath held too long by the earth itself. Mist clung to the still water like torn veils, pale and trembling, drifting over pools that mirrored nothing but darkness. Reeds bent without wind. The moon cast a thin blade of light cutting through fog as if reluctant to linger. It was not a place for footsteps, not a place for living voices. And yet, the marshes waited, patient and unblinking, as they had for centuries. The Dead Marshes. A name whispered across continents, carried in the tongues of travelers who swore never to return. Here, in Iceland's haunted wetlands, and in New Zealand's shadowed swamps, stories gathered like stagnant water. Strange lights glowed above the pools, faint at first, then flickering with unnatural life, like lanterns borne by invisible hands. To some they were fires of the earth, gases rising from rotting roots. To others they were eyes that watched and remembered. The first to stumble upon them did not think of science. They thought of souls. Villagers told of drowned warriors who refused to rest, their bodies claimed by bog and mire, their spirits condemned to wander. They said the lights belonged to these restless dead, luring travelers deeper, deeper into the black water until earth swallowed them whole. To look too long was to feel a pull, a beckoning that drew one closer until only the marsh remained. Such places have always been thresholds, a borderland between what is known and what is feared. Not land, not water, not living, not dead. In Iceland, shepherds warned their children to keep away, telling tales of voices beneath the mist, voices that spoke in the tones of the long departed. In New Zealand, Maori stories wove of Taniwha, guardian spirits who watched from beneath the swamps, punishing arrogance with disappearance. And across an ocean, in England and Ireland, whispers grew of will-o'-the-wisps, phantom flames that darted above the bogs, leading wanderers to their doom. The Dead Marshes were no solitary legend. They were a mirror of the same haunting, scattered across the world like fragments of a forgotten truth. But there is more, if one listens carefully. The Norse spoke of bogs as gates to the underworld, where sacrifices, sometimes human, were given to appease unseen powers. Archaeologists in Denmark uncovered bodies preserved for millennia in peat, their skin leather dark, but their faces almost alive, eyes closed in uneasy slumber. To the living, these were not just corpses, but guardians, proof that the swamp did not give up what it claimed. To walk among such places was to walk on the edge of time itself. It was no ordinary place. It was a key to the way human beings face the unknown, and to the landscapes that seem to breathe with more than wind. For in these lights and whispers, people saw not just danger but revelation. They saw the veil between worlds. But every key draws contention. Rivalry grows in the shadows of mystery. To the folklore keeper, the marsh was sacred, a realm of spirits not to be trifled with. To the scientist, it was nothing but methane igniting in damp air, the earth itself exhaling. When explorers carried tales back to universities, debate raged. Was it chemistry, a trick of light, or something beyond? Each camp staked its claim, each voice grew louder, and the marsh, silent, eternal, listened. Then came the poets, the artists, those who saw in the mist a stage upon which all of humanity's fears and longings played. And among them, one stood apart, J.R.R. Tolkien. He had walked through real marshes, had watched the flickering of swamp fire, and in his memory lived darker visions still, the trenches of the First World War, the fields of the Somme, where the dead lay in shallow water, their faces staring upward in silent accusation. From that soil of blood and gas and smoke, he drew forth an image, a marsh, where the dead remained visible, drifting beneath the surface, the dead marshes of Middle Earth. And so, geography and folklore fused into myth. Iceland's whispers, New Zealand's swamps, England's bog lights, France's battlefields, all of it flowed together into a single, unforgettable vision. What had been a natural oddity or a local curse became immortalized as literature, as cinema, as culture. Readers trembled as Frodo peered into the water and saw faces staring back, half rotted, half alive. Audiences decades later watched the screen flicker with ghostly lights, the echo of fires that still burn in damp air. But legacy is never without dispute. Scholars argue, were Tolkien's Dead Marshes more war than folklore, more Somme than Iceland? Was it the memory of friends lost in mud that shaped the vision, or the whispers of ancient marsh legends he had absorbed? Did he write of ghosts, or of the endless persistence of memory itself? The debate continues, each side claiming the deeper truth, each voice echoing across lecture halls. And yet, the marsh does not care for such questions. It is neither metaphor nor equation. It simply is. The water still spreads silent under the moon. The mist still coils upward in spectral shapes. The lights still flare in unnatural colors. The land remembers what we try to forget. Meanwhile, the real marshes endure. In Iceland, tourists still wander near, swearing they hear murmurs at dusk. In New Zealand, the fog rises in coils that twist like pale smoke. And in both, the lights still flare. Blue, green, and orange. Never still, never explained to satisfaction. Scientists insist, ignis fatuus, the swamp gas. Locals shake their heads. Not gas, not air, spirits. The rivalry endures not just between science and story, but between belief and disbelief. Between those who demand proof and those who need none. But perhaps there is a deeper truth here. Perhaps the marsh thrives precisely because it refuses to choose. It can be both natural and supernatural, both ordinary and extraordinary. In one moment it is chemistry, in the next it is legend. And that duality, that refusal to resolve, is why it continues to grip the human imagination. For what other places hold the same strange power? Volcanoes that speak like gods, deserts that sing, oceans that glow with phantom light. Each is a threshold. Each is a reminder that we walk not in certainty, but in mystery. And the marsh is the clearest mirror of all. The breakthrough lies not in one side winning, but in realizing both may be true. That the marsh is chemical and spiritual, phenomenon and myth. That its meaning is not singular but layered. A palimpsest where geology, biology, war, and memory overlap. It is a place where the earth itself tells stories, and humanity listens, adding its own voices. The legacy of the Dead Marshes is not confined to books or films. It is in the way people still walk differently when fog rises. It is in the hush that falls when flames appear in swamp air. It is in the trembling of the hand when one peers into black water and feels watched. It is in the cultural inheritance that binds Iceland to New Zealand, England to France, past to present. Even now debates spark anew. Are such lights dangerous, releasing poison? Should they be studied, captured, contained? Or should they remain untouched, left to glow as they have for centuries, unsolved, unsilenced? The controversy itself has become part of the story. Rival claims, heated disputes, Some demand scientific closure, others demand reverence. In that tension, the marsh grows only more powerful. And still, the echoes reach us. In music inspired by Tolkien's words, in paintings of haunted swamps, in the whispered warnings of parents to children, don't follow the lights. The resonance is alive, as modern as the flicker of your screen, as ancient as the first gasp of fire above a bog. Look too closely, and the water stares back. The dead marshes remain, a place where earth and story entwine, a place where time hesitates, where lights rise like souls, and silence is louder than any storm. A key still turning, a voice still speaking, a beginning still unfolding.